Well, welcome. Today's lesson is on how to hit the low shot. And again, there's several ways in which we can do this, from pre-setting to in-swing stuff that we can do to hit the ball low. It's a case of practicing the different methods, finding out what works best for you. So the first way that I want to talk to you about hitting low shots is by using club selection to hit a low shot. So for example, quite often you might be playing golf on a windy day. You might be left with just say 100 or 110 meters left to the green. Might be a pitching wedge sort of shot for a normal day. And so you elect that it's a pitching wedge distance, but you want to hit the ball low. So the first way that I want to show you today on how to hit it low is by changing the club. So we mentioned before about the loft on the club and how that affects the flight. So what we're going to do is, instead of playing a pitching wedge, we're going to hit the 7-iron. You can see it's considerable less loft on the 7-iron. So by just simply changing clubs, I'm affecting the way the ball's going to come into the green. It's going to come in a lot lower and do more and do exactly what we want it to do. Now, how do we adjust for distance? So what I say is, use roughly a formula of about 3/4 of an inch per club. So I've got a pitching wedge here, but I'm going to hit a 7-iron, and I want it to go the same distance without changing too much in my swing. So pitching wedge and 9-iron are the same length. So we got 9-iron, we're going to switch to 8-iron to 7-iron. So we're using 2 more clubs as far as length goes. So that means I'm going to take about 1.5 inches to 2 inches off my 7-iron. So by shortening the grip from my normal position, that's going to reduce the length that the club goes, so that I can actually now swing it fairly normal and get the same distance. So I've gripped down. The type of swing that I'm going to hit, because I want it to come out low, I want to reduce the club head speed, so I'm only going to use a 3/4 swing. All right, so instead of my full swing, I'm going to use a 3/4 swing, and instead of full length, I'm using 2 times 3/4 of an inch. So about 1.5 inches to a maximum 2 inches, and you'll need to practice that to work out which one of those it is for you. So I've done that. From now on, my setup is exactly the same like a normal pitching wedge setup. All right, as you can see, the club's a lot shorter than what my pitching wedge is. It's going to come out lower and about the same distance. Lovely. Well, I hope that first method was going pretty good for you. Method number 2, which starts to get a little bit more complex. So I'd always recommend you start with the first of these methods and then work your way through if you're getting more comfortable with it. But method number 2 is we're going to change setup completely. And I generally only use this method when my first method I can no longer pick a club. So I might be trying to hit a, say a low ball 5-iron distance, and I might have run out of clubs. I'm no longer going to be able to grip down far enough on a 3-wood to hit it as short as a 5-iron. So when that happens, we've got to learn how to hit each club a little bit lower. So the way to do that is to change your setup. The simplest way, first of all, is to adjust setup. So what we're going to do now is, rather than play the ball center, we're going to play the ball back of center. And again, how far back you go, the further back you're going, the more difficult the shot becomes. So a little bit back is going to deal off the club plenty. So if I'm playing the ball roughly centered and I go back about a ball or 2 ball widths, that's de-lofting the club plenty, so that the ball's going to come out nice and low now. The club face will tend to sit open when we're doing this, so we want to kind of square that up. So we square the club up, ball is back of center, swing center and weight is now in front of the ball. Okay, And that's the setup that we use to hit the ball low. So ball back of center, slightly closed club face, or we square the club face up by turning it in so it's a closed grip on the club face. Again, it's a difficult shot, so keep it as a 3/4 swing. Good luck. So the final method that I want you to try is a little bit of presetting, but a lot to do with how you swing the club. So we know that if we swing the club normally, we have an angle of attack to the ball which is fairly steep, and that tends to lift the ball. So in this next method, we want to shallow that off. So we're going to tend to have a flatter swing. So the swing's going to come in flatter. We're going to attempt to sweep the ball off the ground, not hit a divot. So we're just going to try and sweep it off the ground. And the third thing we're going to try and do is we're going to keep the hands well in front of the club head. Very hard method to do, and it'll take a lot of practice, but it will be quite effective when you get there. So a little bit of preset, so play the ball a little bit back. When you're swinging, we're going to go for a shallower swing. We're going to sweep the ground, so hopefully you won't see any divot when we hit this ball. And we're going to keep the hands in front as we hit. And that'll again de-lofts the club and gets the ball coming out nice and low. So give that one a go, and good luck.